We are not just having a stare-off. We're having one of the most intense stare-offs I think I have ever had. This owl is checking us out. Look at that. It's actually really intimidating. This is wild. I think this is the best and closest view of a spotted eagle owl's face that I've ever had. So close that you can actually see its pupils moving. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So this is very likely one of the wigs. We are in that spot in the riverbed. If you don't know the wig family, well, I hope you're excited, because if they're hanging around, there's a possibility that they might be nesting soon and laying eggs. The wig family have been around Djuma for ages. A spotted eagle owl pair that nest and raise chicks in the same section of the riverbed year after year. And we're getting to that time. They could lay eggs any time, but the peak is normally starting now in August. Oh, it spotted something on the ground. I don't even want to move in case it flies away. Oh, Steve D, there are quite literally no words. Wow is a good start. It's about that time when the owls are going to start waking up and moving. It's getting darker, it's getting cooler. This owl is pretty awake. Now we had a great silhouetted view of a spotted eagle owl just up on the bank in this spot last night. But obviously up from the bank side, not down from the river side. We're looking up at it onto the bank. Last night we were on the road next to the river in the same area. And we could see those ear tufts beautifully in the silhouette. But I hope that you're appreciating them now, because they're a lot fluffier than I thought they would be. They are even more magnificent this close up. I mean, wow. Plate Smasher, it is so cool. I honestly did not think that we would have this view of an owl. We see the wigs, we do, we see them quite often, these spotted eagle owls. But to have it this close, that we can almost count the little filaments on each feather, that we can see its pupils moving, all those gorgeous spots. This is unreal. Oh, it's looking at me. It's a pity that one branch is just over its eyes, but it looks quite grumpy when it looks down like that. Wow. Look at the little feathers that cover the top of its beak. That's so cool. Nadine, the lovely voice in my ear. And she's saying, let's be real, the wigs are pretty much always looking grumpy. I think it's an owl thing. They have a very stern stare, a resting grumpy face 24/7. But I feel like when it's this close and those eyes are just bearing into your soul and kind of boring right through the back of your skull at the same time, it looks even grumpier. Look at the bright yellow of those eyes. As soon as it looks that way, the sun, the last rays of sun are catching that bright yellow of its eye. You don't realize how bright the eye is. Katy cat, I suppose, in a sense, yes. An owl's eyes would be similar to a domestic cat, but birds' eyes are more refined, believe it or not, than the cat's. Birds can see part of the UV spectrum, and the way that they can... Oh, it turned its head so quickly. I feel like I don't even want to talk too loudly. The way that they can define details is quite a lot more intense than a domestic cat, I suppose. But being predators across the board, the cats, even to an extent wild dogs, hyenas, leopards, lions, domestic cats, and then of course owls, all the other raptors, being predators, their eyesight has to be ridiculously good, because they have to be able to hone in. They've got binocular vision like us with eyes facing forwards. It's just that birds have further intensified that process. Their eyes are even better. Extra rods and cones in the back of the eye to pick up shades, colors, shadows. And they've got a crystal clear image in there. So I suppose similar in basic form and function, similar in how good they are, but much more intense. Ah, Joy in Hong Kong. Nice to hear from you. How are you doing? I remember that day as well, us sitting here in the riverbed and just loving every second with the Wigs. They really are a very special family. But in general, you know, spending time with owls is very special. Very, very special. I love the way it turns its head so smoothly. Now, all I'm thinking is sitting up here, it's looking out over the riverbed. Imagine a bird's eyes being able to pick up on the UV spectrum. Imagine this owl looking down at the riverbed like it's doing right now. And in the dark, it'll be able to see the trails. Oh, I hear a hyena whooping as well. It'll be able to see the trails that little rodents use often. It'll be able to pinpoint where they move, sit there and wait for one of them to come along. How cool is that? Are not quite as good as some of the goshawks with picking up those trails. But the owl, I suppose, has the advantage of that excellent range of motion in the neck and the advantage of silence. So if it sits for long enough, it'll pick up on movement, and it should get quite lucky. What are you hearing or seeing, owl? I wish I could see what's going on in its mind, to see what different stimuli are attracting its attention. Those quick movements are unreal. Now, in that black crease behind the eye, that's where the ear of the owl is. When it turns its head, you can see there's a bit of a hollow in the feathers. That's where the actual ear of an owl is. It's a totally internal structure, just a hole in the side of the skull essentially, and through that, with all of the nerves and everything else, of course, the soft tissue inside and the ear organs, it can pick up on sounds very, very well. But everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people used to think that those ear tufts at the top were like the ears like you would see on a cat. I can definitely see why. They are very cool looking. It's a very handsome owl. But just in that crease behind the eye, in that black streak, that's where the actual ear is. That is such a smooth movement. Owls are incredible creatures. What a ridiculous experience this is right now. I actually can't believe it's happening.